One of the goals of our Student Engagement Cadre is to really explore how we create opportunities for growth for our educators. In our last session, we used the Frayer model to help brainstorm and try to come up with individual definitions of what we thought instructional coaching really meant and what does it look like. So we used the Frayer model to create our own definition, define some characteristics, come up with examples as well as non-examples. Today, we are going to explore more specifically what student-centered coaching looks like compared to some other models, and then revisit it against what we originally came up with for our Frayer model, defining instructional coaching, and then synthesizing the pieces together to create a new Frayer model where we really can outline what does student-centered coaching look like, where some key characteristics, examples, and non-examples. We've now used the Frayer model to identify and summarize a new definition specifically about student-centered coaching. So in this model, we really want to focus on a definition meaning of student-centered coaching, having it be collaboratively working together with coaches and teachers using student data to design and implement strategies that really are focused on measuring growth. And that student growth piece is key. Some examples of student-centered coaching would be the coach and the teacher explore current activities and examples of student work, and they're really focused on identifying what can help learners to succeed as well as what are new areas for growth. So once again, bringing it back to where are learners, what are their needs, and how do we move them forward. Some characteristics of a student-centered coaching relationship would be collaborative, working together, being supportive, and helping take student learning to the next level, and not just focusing on what teachers are doing. But really how are students responding? And then for non-examples, a non-example would be a coach just being there for moral support, focus more on summative assessments rather than formative, holding teachers accountable, and then talking about what the teacher is or isn't doing, rather than bringing it really back to how are students succeeding or what areas for growth do students have. What could you do with student-centered coaching in 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 weeks, and 5 months? These are just some brief ideas that I came up with and examples from what I'm doing in these capacities to offer student-centered coaching opportunities. Only have 5 minutes to engage in a student-centered coaching conversation? Start by asking a question. Ask what people have going on in their classrooms. Or maybe someone is asking you a question and you now have the opportunity to apply your student-centered coaching skills. Say you have 5 days. I often like to look at a chunk of days as a way to visit some classrooms, observe learning in real time. That way I can witness what students are doing, and then the teacher and I can follow up and talk about, what does assessment look like? What do student artifacts look like? And what can they tell us about how we as educators can improve student mastery? Now, 5 weeks. 5 weeks is a huge chunk of time. Oftentimes, I like to plan in weeks when it comes to meeting with teachers to build new performance tasks or modify activities that already exist where we can really take student skills further and provide them with more personalized opportunities to show their learning. 5 months. This is big time planning. It might be hard to think about what you're going to do over 5 months, but in general, we often find that looking at a monthly schedule can help coaches working with team leaders to really figure out how do we share the new performance tasks that we did in the other chunks of time, to really taking examples of student data, how can we share them with the rest of our teams, and then how do we make ways to make these practices sustainable and to connect to other district goals and initiatives. So for the 5-month plan, we're really looking at larger level sustainable implementation of how do we take what we've learned in these coaching experiences and continue to build on that.